Welcome to NCIX Tech Tips. This is the first episode that we've ever done on a car. Well, okay, it's not a car. This is the Corsair Obsidian 900D. It is a full tower. It measures a whopping 27.2 inches by 9.9 inches by 25.6 inches. And to get one shipped to yourself, expect a box to show up that weighs about 50 pounds. Which is about what my car weighs. Now, doing an exterior tour of this case is gonna have its challenges. So, I mean, you can see, I can't even reach around it. It's this big. See? Oh, for scale. Man, that's heavy. Okay, so we're just gonna kind of do what we can here. In the front, you're gonna find a very clean brushed aluminum look. This is very similar to what we saw with the 800D, and I personally think it looks like the bee's knees. But this is kind of unique. So the 900D is wider than most cases, but you can see that the 5¼ inch bay covers go from edge to edge. How did they do this? Well, when you remove them, you can see that Corsair's built kind of a fascia around standard 5¼ inch devices, but they didn't want to ruin the look of the front of the case, so they left those wider bay covers. So if you install an optical drive or a front card reader or whatever else that fits in one of those bays, then you're going to have it be slightly recessed and it'll have that border around it. Also at the front, you've got a cover for your 4 USB 2.0 ports and 2 USB 3.0 ports, as well as your power and reset switches. And then you've got a large aluminum plate, also brushed aluminum, that you can remove just by sort of grabbing it by the edges. Make sure you don't get fingerprints on it, because that brushed aluminum, you want it to look nice over time. Remove it just by grabbing it, pulling it off, and now you've got access to a large, easily cleanable fan filter that you can then also remove, and you can have a look at the 3 included AF120L fans. These are very similar to Corsair's standard Airflow series fans, but they're missing the rubber grommets as well as the interchangeable color rings on them. Now when we go around to the top of the case, this I'm gonna try and at least show you guys a little bit here. You can see the entire top is pretty much mesh with a large removable fan filter as well. And then the right side of the case, whoa, okay. Whew, man, it's heavy. It's not meant to really be moved around a whole lot. It has a toolless removable button right here at the back, so you can pull that off. And the funny thing about this is it looks like a standard case side panel, except that that's not the whole side panel, because not only does this give you access to the interior over here on the back of the motherboard tray, but there's also another switch down here that allows you to remove it, remove another removable fan filter, and get access to the back of your drive cages. But wait, there's more. Yes, we're gonna be having one of those NCIX Tech Tips episodes today, guys, where there's always another, but wait, there's more moment, because, whoa. On the other side, we've got another toolless side panel with an enormous window. So the entire side panel is pretty much window. And then, so that gives you access to the inside of the case. Another door here that gives you access to another removable fan filter that's magnetic. Whew. That gives you access to the front of your drive cages. Then finally, we go around to the back of the case, where you can see lots of ventilation. So it does support dual power supplies down here on the bottom, 10 expansion slots, ventilation, 120 or 140 mil fan, so that's an AF140L, which is the light version of their AF140, slightly larger than the ones in the front, and more ventilation here as well. Now the scale of this thing is kind of unreal. Check this out. This is a standard ATX motherboard. This is a Gigabyte Z87 board. I'm gonna put this in here to give you guys some idea of how massive this case is. It accepts not only ATX boards and MATX boards, which are small, and ITX boards. I mean, it accepts all those things, but it can also handle XL-ATX boards, which are about yay long. It can handle eATX boards, which are about yay wide, and it can handle HPTX boards, which are like absolutely huge, and will actually manage to take up a significant portion of the motherboard tray on this case. So you can put whatever motherboard you want in it, which is very, very cool. It also has those 10 expansion slots that I mentioned before, so you can put whatever graphics cards you want in it. Not only that, but here we go. Whoa, whoa, but wait, there's more. You can put in pretty much as many drives as you want. So it comes stock with support for 9 3.5 inch or 2.5 inch drives, but you can expand that to 15, or you can actually move it around so you can have the configuration that you want. So check this out. There's 3 cages that are included by default. 2 down in the basement, and then 1 up top. This gives you a lot of flexibility because if you want to fill the basement up with radiators, you might go, okay, I'm going to pop this bottom cage out, I'm going to put it up here. I'm willing to sacrifice some of the airflow that I get from those front fans in order to have all my liquid cooling rads down in the bottom. Or maybe you're using it as an air cooling case. Then you might take this one, put it down here, fill up that 3rd slot in the bottom, and go, okay, no, I need as much airflow as I can from the front of the case so I can get that fresh air to my graphics cards. So all you got to do is remove the thumb screws at the back, which hopefully I can do on camera here. Slide that out, and then you can move it down to the bottom. Now, not only that, but one of the included hard drive cage assemblies has a hot swap interface on it. So from the back, you can see that all you have to do is plug in the 3 SATA cables as well as the SATA power, and then you can plug the drives in simply by unpopping them and then popping them in. So I'm just going to go ahead and I'm going to show you guys where that's going to go if we decide to fill the entire bottom. And you're going to see this hot swap one. All I have to do is load drives onto these sleds, pop them in, whether they're 3.5 inch or 2.5 inch, and they are ready to go. Now, continuing the tradition of the original Obsidian case, the 800D, the 900D has tons of cable management grommets. So, I mean, it's all fine and good to say, oh, well, you can fit 2 power supplies in our case, but if you don't have a way to route all those cables anywhere, then you're gonna have a bad time. So they've got grommets set up either for standard width motherboards, so you can see I'm gonna throw my ATX motherboard back in here, just like that. So those grommets that are to the leftmost side will actually match up really well with that. And then they've also got grommets that are designed for your wider EATX or HPTX motherboards over to the right. The 5.25 inch bays at the front are easy to remove the covers for if you just reach inside and pop the 2 tabs. And you can also see from inside here, you have full front panel connectivity that is all sleeved in black. This is one of the things that Corsair does so well compared to their competitors, is those little finishing touches where even things like the front power LED thing has black wires terminated with black connectors, so it's not going to look ugly pretty much no matter what you do. Now we're around to the other side. So on the other side, you can see how all the cable management actually works. It's fine and good to have grommets, and it's fine and good to, you know, have those be tidy and sexy and all that stuff, but if you don't have actual room on the other side of the motherboard tray to route things, then it's going to be problematic. Now, the thing about a case that is capable of holding 15 drives and capable of holding 4 graphics cards and a couple CPUs and all those things is that Corsair has to build in the potential to manage more wires than a typical user has to do. I mean, the thing holds 15 fans. Those alone, routing the wires all over the place, can be a nightmare in a smaller case. So they have over an inch of cable management room behind the motherboard tray. That means that you can not only, I mean, on a lot of cases, the benchmark is, can I put a 24-pin cable in the back without sort of that causing a problem? Whereas on this case, you could put a 24-pin, you could cover it with another 24-pin, and you would still be able to close the side panel. So they've built in a ton of cable management stuff, including those little wire clips for zip ties that I'm so fond of, as well as these clip-down, snap-down cable routing features, which I actually really like. So these are going to be useful mostly for your 24-pin cable, so that's for your motherboard, as well as for your 6-pin and 8-pin connectors for your graphics card. So there's 3 of them right here, here, and here, and they are in the perfect positions to run those cables up from the bottom. So there's cable management gaps here, 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 and here, so you can actually get things from the basement to not the basement. This was one of the complaints I had about my personal TJ07, is that the basement is very isolated from the rest of the case, which is great for airflow and great for lots of things, but not great for cable management. Not so with the 900D. They've also included, check this out, a 4-pin or 8-pin EPS extender, so that's really handy because many power supplies are not going to be able to reach all the way from the power supply bay in the bottom to where your 8-pin or 4-pin is going to plug into your motherboard in the top of this case, so that is clipped in right here. They've also included a couple of other options. So down in the bottom of the case, where we've talked about radiator expansion already, they not only include the clips that you need to install those radiators, so they're actually stealthed and hidden. You can pop them up and then slide them into place, but they also give you options because, as you may or may not have noticed already, check this out. That doesn't look that great for airflow, does it? So what you want to do is you actually just go ahead and take off the fan filter, remove the 8 screws here, and then you can turn the side panels on the bottom into ventilated side panels as opposed to solid, stealthy-looking side panels instead. The last things that you'll access from the back are things like your CPU cutouts, so if you ever want to swap out your cooler without removing the motherboard, you can do that from here, as well as being able to access the hot swap interface on the back of that hard drive cage, and that is about all she wrote. Now, all this talk about liquid cooling, and I haven't actually told you where all the liquid cooling goes or shown you yet. So here you go, guys. 5 radiator mounting points. You can put a 360 here in the front, where those 3 120mm fans are already pre-installed with the case. You can put a 480 or a 420 in the top, so that is quadruple 120 or triple 140. In the bottom side here, you can put a 480 or a 420, so that is quadruple 120 or triple 140. In the other bottom side, where the power supplies will interfere with putting anything too massive, you can put a 240 or a 280, so that's dual 120 or dual 140. And remember, guys, you can put the power supply on either side you want, so you could have the big radiator on this side or the big radiator on this side. It's totally up to you. And finally, in the rear of the case, you can put a 120 or 140mm radiator, making it not only have the cooling potential of a small automobile, but also the weight of a small automobile and the awesomeness of a small automobile. So basically, guys, the 900D is for people who already know they need it. If you're not sure if you need a 900D, you're probably not going to utilize it to its full potential, but if you wanted something that's just like, you know, the king of cases from Corsair, then this is pretty much the way to go, because you can put anything you could possibly want in it, including your computer and probably additionally another computer and your cat. And please don't actually try to do any of those things. Don't forget to subscribe to NCIX Tech Tips for more videos like this from ncix.com.